nonetheless a start. So welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Abe Brown, and I'm with Axe IT Consulting, and we are just going to get started here in a couple of moments, just making sure that we're locked and loaded on Facebook Live, and all of the pieces are operating the way they need to. So welcome everybody. We've got a great show today. Not only do we have a great guest, but Rochelle has promised to do some special tricks today. A magician on the side. I don't know if you guys knew that, and she does performances all over Strathmore, actually. So it's going to be awesome. Okay. Okay, so
okay.
Okay, there we go. So looks like we're live, and that's a good thing. So welcome everybody, and why don't we just go ahead and dive right into this. Thank you so much for your patience, and really excited to be with you here today with Rochelle from SME Solutions. Hi Rochelle, how you doing?
I'm good, Abe. How are you?
Doing really good. And of course, Jody Lockhart, and we'll talk about Jody in just a moment. How are you, Jody? Doing okay?
Nice. Great, thank you.
Fantastic. So you know, today what we're going to focus on in the webinar is kind of this idea. It's a webinar that we're going to talk about the essential small business technology stack. And I am joined today by Rochelle of SME Solutions, and give you a little bit of housekeeping before we proceed. And that's always important, just to kind of get a sense as to what we're going to be doing. This webinar will be recorded, and you're going to be able to access it on the Axe IT Consulting YouTube channel, along with the SME Solutions YouTube channel. And we'll be happy to get you the information about that as well. And we are going to dedicate the last couple of minutes to question and answer with Jody at the end of the webinar. And of course, you can either ask questions on Facebook Live in the comments on any of the pages where this is going live, or you can ask them in the Zoom chat window, and we'll make sure that we give Jody a great opportunity to do that. So, you know, this little series, in case you're not sure, you know, what we've been doing, over the last couple of months, we've been conducting live webinars aimed at providing small to medium-sized businesses with practical tips from business leaders to help them to not only survive the impact of COVID-19, but to thrive. I mean, if your business fundamentals are where they need to be, that's not to say that that completely insulates you from the broader economy, but it certainly helps. And, you know, the truth in Canada is that about 97% of all businesses in Canada are small and medium-sized businesses, and they contribute collectively about 45 to 50% of total national gross domestic product. So they are massive contributors. And as a lot of businesses are reopening, and they're trying to get back to normal, a new normal, whatever that looks like, we want to be able to give some support, some tools, create a safe forum, not necessarily from academics, but from people who are in the field and actually trying to figure out operational, financial, logistics, cybersecurity challenges, on and on and on. And so, Rochelle, why don't you take a moment and introduce our special guest here today?
Hey, yeah, thank you, Abe. Hi, everyone. So, of course, I'm happy to introduce a long-time Systema client and experienced business leader in packaging and containers industries. His leadership at MiniBulk has been crucial at company success and growth over past 14 years. So our guest speaker for today is Jody Lockhart, General Manager of MiniBulk. Yeah, welcome, Jody.
Thanks, Rochelle. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the overly nice intro.
Nice to have you, Jody.
Thanks, Abe.
So can you, Jody, can you tell us a little bit about MiniBulk, how it all started, like what sort of business you are, and how long have you been connected with MiniBulk?
Yeah, MiniBulk was a small business started in Alberta in about 1995. And it was started in Edmonton, Alberta. I began working with MiniBulk in about 1997, so not too long after it started. I'm still here today, so I guess we must be doing something right. And the industry that we're focused on is the containers and packaging business. Specifically, we work in the area of doing large containment bags for things that are granular and flowable. Market spaces like mining, agriculture, chemicals, things like that. So yeah, so that's how we started, and ultimately we ended up here in Calgary. So our head office is here in Calgary with warehousing and sales representation across Canada.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And so you've been going, you guys, well, at least 14 years. That's a long time. So, over the course of that little, 14-year journey, what kind of growing pains have you had in terms of operational or business issues or related to IT infrastructure, et cetera?
Yeah, yeah, good question. I mean, in the very early days, MiniBulk was given an award as one of Canada's 50 fastest growing companies in those early years, back in, the time period leading up to about the year 2000. And, when you start from small, I mean, even having significant growth, you can still manage it with some basic tools, Outlook, Excel, QuickBooks, whatever might be available to you. But over the last, let's say, since about 2010 until now, maybe even a shorter time period, in fact, about 2014 or 15 to about now, we've doubled in size.
Okay.
So you can imagine the stress that that would put on a company in taking your business from one point to essentially stacking double the transactions, double the amount of work, and still trying to do that with all of these pieces that were not connected. So we definitely saw stress from a transactional point of view, a process point of view, because the systems we had were not integrated.
And so, how did you start to address some of those growing pains? And I've certainly been there in organizations as well. And so, what were some of the things that you did to manage those growing pains?
Well, about 4 years ago, we realized that this wasn't going to take us in the way that we needed to go, like for the future. So we started to look at the inefficiencies that we had. We started to see that we were doing a lot of things like costly synchronization using tools that weren't really meant to talk together. So we'd buy another tool that synchronized them. Those things always broke and always needed maintenance. So we were taking a look at that stuff. 90% of what MiniBulk does is custom design solutions for our end users. So when you're talking about custom work and having duplication of information and processes can be really dangerous. You miss one little thing and everything falls off the cart, so to speak. So we had to take a really serious look at duplication of entry, duplication of tasks. And even more than that, in a small company, you need to have the ability to have transparency between different functional teams in the group. So there's fulfillment, operations, logistics, there's sales and marketing. And if all those people can't communicate seamlessly together, then you got a real danger there of missing opportunities that will grow your company. So yeah, so about 4 years ago, we looked seriously at migrating to a fully integrated solution. We were already, like going way, way back, we were a customer of Business Vision, which was the accounting software that we used. When we finally grew up from QuickBooks, we went there. And then, but that's all it was. It was standalone. It did our accounting. but everything else in the business, all our specifications, all of our communications happened outside. So we started looking seriously at it. And in 2018, after working with Sistema on a project scope, we decided that we would go fully into Microsoft Dynamics NAV, which we were already using. We upgraded it, we implemented the CRM solution, and that brought us really down to one page. So yeah, so we've, you know, that took a little while to implement, of course, but at the end of the day, it's worked out pretty good. I think too, Abe, you asked, like, how did we address the business issues we had? I wanted to, you know, just wanted to touch on a few things because, you know, it's one thing to say, okay, go out and get a big software package and just implement it and just do it. And it sounds easy, but you have to start from a point of understanding. And we knew that there was cost to our personnel of time and processes, but we also knew there was opportunity cost, that we were missing out on opportunities because of duplication and time through processes, and also costly mistakes, you know, just of trying to repeat and input information that just wasn't being translated through our supply chain. On top of that, we had to reevaluate our way of working. And when you grow quickly, you know, you have talented people on your team and they find ways to get the work done. That's what makes small business work, is that you have people on your team who just, they see a need, they fill the need, and they get it done. But when you're going into something that's more integrated, more seamless, you have to step back and dig into your processes, dig into your key metrics and the reports you're using. And what we found is that the way we were doing things, although it wasn't wrong, it wasn't the best way, because we were simply using the technology that had been at our disposal. And then the last step was assess the software that we were going to use. And we did actually look at the Dynamics CRM long before 2018, but in assessing it and talking to our partner, Sistema, at the time about it, actually, no, it was before Sistema. So I'll get to the point about Sistema. But the solution just wasn't good. Microsoft didn't have the product to a point where it would make sense for us to do the change. So we made an assessment after they made some improvements. We found the right consulting partner in Sistema, and that helped us get to where we needed to be.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of info, sorry.
Sistema, by the way. Yeah, so, well, like, yeah, so more about the, you know, like in continuation with our presentation. So we'll be doing like a flashcard game, like to be more interactive whatsoever. And yeah, so I will key some question and you will just speak like the answer, like Jody. So here's my, I think this is just like the first question. So what do you think should be the essential technology stack for SMEs, and tell us if should be mandatory for a small and medium business or a nice to have?
Yeah. You know, I'm going to say something that's going to sound pretty obvious, but connectivity. Oh, you're going through, you want me to comment on some of these?
These are like some of the options or the choices. So financial management, data protection and security, customer relationship management, or and then backup disaster recovery.
Yes. Well, you know what? Obviously, all of those are important, right? If you don't have backup and disaster recovery, you could find yourself in a very difficult situation. The good news is that a lot of solutions today, including Microsoft Dynamics, which we're on, is going to cloud-based solutions. And I know it probably has a different name, but you can worry about that, Rochelle. That's your job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find that for us, business intelligence is really important. The advantage of small to medium size enterprises is that we are quick to respond. we are nimble, we are creative, we're willing to try things. But without real insight into actually what's happening in your business and what's happening in the marketplace, then how could you ever make the right decisions? So we feel like capturing data, first of all, with a great system, and then being able to report on that data frequently in real time has been valuable for us. I'll give you an example if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So we have, like many companies, we have a classification system for levels of service that are required for our clients. And that can range from somebody who needs a dedicated account manager to somebody who's going to, you know, talk to us once or twice a year and buy something off our shelf. We came to the point where we could use our information in Microsoft Dynamics, building Power BI reports, and get a sense of what was the real value being turned out by those repeat, you know, smaller level consumers, business consumers that were coming into our business. And then we compared that with the resources we were dedicating to that segment of our client base, and realized that we were seriously underserving these people. One was that the personnel that we put to these clients were very skilled, and they didn't have the time, though, to go through the 400, 500, 600 clients and stay in touch with them on a regular basis, so they knew that we cared about them and that we want to keep providing solutions to them. And then we saw too that once these customers in this particular category knew what they wanted, they didn't really need us to get in the way of them ordering something. So we talked about how do we implement an e-commerce solution that works seamlessly with Microsoft Dynamics, and that's a big project we're working on right now with Sistema and with and of course with the e-commerce solution provider. So would we have ever gotten to that decision without having the data in Microsoft Dynamics and having the Power BI tool to be able to analyze it? No, we would have kept going down the path that we were going down. And interestingly, we found that even though that category of clients were growing, that year over year, 50% of those clients were not repeat ordering. That's huge. So imagine you implement an e-commerce solution, and then even if you captured half of those people who aren't coming back because we can't stay in touch with them and we haven't given them an easy tool to use, you can see that the payout is great. Like there's not even a question about the return on investment.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about, and so maybe speak to the customer relationship management side. And I know you kind of touched on it there when you're talking about, tailored solutions and repeat ordering and all of that. But, that this is so much a part of the whole nature of small and medium-sized businesses is the customer relationship, right? And so maybe talk about that in terms of the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we did implement the CRM solution that's built into Microsoft Dynamics. I think it's called Dynamics CRM, right, Rochelle?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got all the answers on that stuff. But the point is that we moved off of an external CRM, and there's a lot of them, isn't it? Like you get bombarded actually by companies saying, hey, why don't we do this for you and do that for you? Fact is if you can't work with the integrated solution, you will be managing synchronization issues forever. And we experienced that. So we wanted to get away from it. Putting everything into one system now gave us the ability to have complete transparency on the team. It helped us to not only segment our customers by region or by industry, but we can even look at them in terms of total potential. And when you can look at that, you're basically saying, what is the market size potential for this area in particular, or maybe this industry? And that allows you to make the best hiring solutions so that you can dedicate the right resources to that market. So without that CRM, we would be stuck in the cycle of external tools, data re-input, and synchronization issues. Today, I'm happy to say we have none of those problems.
That's good news.
Yeah, that's really awesome because I still remember exactly when we were starting implementing the CRM and replacing the legacy system that you have. It's like, yeah, we actually reviewed some of the key processes and duplication work of all this stuff. It's like, yeah, those are the items that mainly we address when it comes to like yeah, like updating your customer relationship management system.
Yes. Yeah, you know, Rochelle, we had a CRM solution provider based out of Chicago, Illinois. We had a web forms developer based out of California somewhere, I don't know where. And then we had of course we had accounting solutions here. Um, and you know, all those people were great, but they really, you know, very rarely talk together and
Mhm.
and we're not really on the same page in terms of what our strategy should be going forward.
Okay.
You
So
want to
maybe,
talk about any of
yeah,
these other points?
yeah, like I am also in your personal opinion, I was like, what do you think is like like a typical like oh I will revise my question. For a typical growing business like MiniBulk, like what were the operational issues that you experienced? So aside from the system, and then what are the point that you decide that you needed to have a technologies in place? Because
Yeah,
you identify earlier that how important technologies to a small medium business, right? So
yes,
aside from that, like what are the other operational issues that we can discuss or we can tackle about?
sure. I'm a real efficiency hound.
Yeah,
I love to
I,
look for efficiencies. And, you know, going back a few years, I went to our operations team and I said, just one-on-one, I said, would you mind putting together a list for me of what consumes your time in a week? And just write it out and hand me that list, you know, in a few days. And so everyone on the team handed me their lists and I was shocked, but we had 40 hours of overlap in work. 40 hours. In a
oh,
small business, one full job was dedicated to duplication. That's insane. So
yeah, yeah.
of course, and it's not from the point of view of saying, look, let's fire somebody because we don't need them. It was from, these are talented people. We need to dedicate these resources to helping our company grow, not to duplicating data entry and things like that. So that was one area. The other operational challenge came when we really started implementing the seamless integrated solution of staying within Microsoft Dynamics. And what we didn't change immediately, and in looking back, I think this is wise because it caused us to think more deeply as time went on. But we had a whole set of reporting function that we weren't on Power BI. So we're using Excel spreadsheets, we're using Jet reports and stuff like that. And all of those tools are fantastic, but they are time consuming, especially what we found is that in any given week, our team was spending 30 to 40 hours, any given month, 30 to 40 hours just preparing reports. And these are reports that now we open up our Power BI workspace, we click on the report that we want, we can put whatever filter we want, we have our information in literally seconds, not minutes, not hours.
That's awesome because I still remember when we are trying to design your weekly sales report, right? Like you're sharing it to me like for almost one day you guys are doing the weekly sales report every week. And
Yes.
yeah, I know like how happy you are now when in just one click you can see your sales report right away at any given time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And you know, that same report is now used to communicate not just to management, but to the sales team to let them know how they're tracking and how they're doing. I can't tell you how many times we've interviewed people for roles at our company who've been in a sales position for, you know, maybe companies about the size of us. And when we ask, what were your goals? What were your targets? How did you perform? So many people don't know the answer to that question. And when you're in sales, that's not a good answer.
So yeah, and I mean, I think that it's so cool. I mean, you can't manage what you're not measuring, and you can't improve what you're not measuring, right? And if the idea is being nimble and being agile, which we all need to be, it's such an important part. What about the idea, you know, of sort of managed IT services? You know, we had a conversation with a business the other day, and interestingly, you know, they've done quite well. I mean, just under, you know, 10 million in annual revenue, which is certainly not a bad number. But they were continuing to try to do the IT all in house, and it had created a number of challenges. You know, what have you noticed? Because, you know, you can have the greatest CRM, the greatest business intelligence, but if your actual infrastructure isn't equipped to handle it, then you're not going to be able to access any of that information. So what did any of that come into play in your journey over these last 14 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, thankfully on the IT like services side, so we have Sistema Solutions, who's been an excellent consultant and partner working with us on the Microsoft Dynamics side, and even helping us make sure that the connectivity is there for when people are working outside of the office, which, you know, lately has been a lot. And then we also have a private consultant that manages all of the hardware stuff. And so in communicating with him, understanding what the needs of the systems were, then we have invested in hardware. And I understand that a lot of people today are going to cloud-based services, which will be our next step. But, you know, if you look at the evolution of our growth, we implemented Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2017, right, Rochelle?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that investment, you know, you want to see that carry itself for a few years before you take the next step. And the great news is that we now have the infrastructure, the seamlessness, that our people can work from anywhere at any time they want and be completely connected with their people, with the other people in the organization. So we've been really happy with how that's all worked out. We're no longer, you know, we're not just piecemealing our strategy, but it's forward-looking, technology-based, and at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you any more to think that way. In fact, it can cost you less because you don't make big mistakes.
It's awesome. So, so what do you, I mean, as we're now navigating, and I know we don't have a ton of time left, but navigating sort of I'll call it a mid and hopefully post-COVID landscape, you know, as you know, a business operator yourself, what sort of advice could you give to someone who might be tuning in here today? I mean, one of the things I've noticed is that this crisis, as tough as it is, has also created some pretty cool opportunities, right? And there are businesses out there that are thriving. And, you know, you've got the obvious ones like the Amazons, but you also have some pretty innovative and creative solutions to you know, managing your business and helping drive revenue forward in this time. So what are you noticing?
I'm noticing that, you know, it kind of starts with your systems and your people. I have the advantage now of sitting on a perch and saying that, yeah, I was right 2 years ago to start implementing all this stuff. Honestly speaking, I of course, didn't see this coming. But I'm glad that we did make these changes so that when this all happened and everybody said, how do we stay safe and still support our customers who are essential services, we had the technology in place to go ahead and do it. What we have found in our industry in particular is that time and time again during this time, we're getting calls from new potential customers because in some way their current provider has failed them in service. And you know, the systems that we use, the information that we gather and that we thrive on enables us to be better service providers. And in an environment like this, if you can't provide the right service, you're just not going to be able to do it. So, so for us, that's where we're focusing, is on our service level, making it easier for people to communicate with us, to buy from us, and making it easier for them to have some peace of mind over what we do. Our business doesn't sound that glamorous, You know, we're in the bag business, but it's not handbags. So it's pretty industrial. But the reality is that if our clients don't have these products, their business shuts down, and because they can't move their product to market or out of their facility. So it will clog everything up. And you know, we're not talking about companies our size. We work with some of the world's largest companies who have millions and billions of dollars invested in their facilities. They don't want them to shut down. I'm sure you can understand. So that service level, that transparency, the ability to react quickly, all happens because we're not wasting time working on, you know, inefficiencies in our business. We're just keyed in, we are focused, and we know what our task at hand is.
Awesome. So as we were mentioning about the service provider, and you know, like, what are your tips, like, when choosing an IT partner, like a good service provider?
Yeah, that's a good question. What we had in the past, and I can only discuss this based on comparison. So I'm just going to make comparison. In comparing the past to what we have today, in the past, we were working with people who were very technically sound. They had good technical knowledge. And for the most part, they had great accounting knowledge and accounting procedure knowledge. But ERP systems and solutions have moved far beyond just being technology, like coding and things like that, and accounting. It is your whole business. So you need to look for someone who understands or wants to understand how your business works. And when you find somebody like that who asks questions and digs in about what makes you guys tick, then you've found the right partner. Because it's only when they understand that they can actually present the solution to you. For example, Microsoft Dynamics does a lot of stuff. Like every day, every week at least, I'm in there doing stuff and I'm like, hey, what does that button do, or this button? And so you want a partner that's going to say to you, we think we can help improve this process, and this is how we can do it. You just got to be willing to share the information.
That's awesome. So like basically one thing that also that I want to add on that is like, aside from choosing the right partner, also it's like, you know, like your support to your vendor is basically like, you know, one of the number one key important thing also there, because like, yeah, basically the way we communicate also, right? Like, well, you know how we communicate when it comes to like finding a solution to your processes, right, Jody? It's like, yeah, so basically it's just like, you know, like give and take, like for the vendor and then for the client, and then to make the processes work properly.
That's a good point, Rochelle. Actually, I think I didn't finish that thought, is that in the past we had a partner that was pretty technically sound, accounting sound. But when we had a problem and we tried to communicate a bit about it to try to understand what could we do better, we got silence. They just would go in the system, fix it, and tell us not to worry about it. But what we found out as we went further down the road, that we just ended up with more problems. So communication is critical.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, are we running out of time here, Jody? And
Probably. I talk an awful lot, so that's why.
That's really like, yeah, it's a wonderful conversation. Abe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think one of the questions I just wanted to quickly ask Jody was, and I know you're not an expert on this, but when you think about businesses and one of the risks that we're seeing, you know, and even through COVID, it's been bizarre, the amount of cybersecurity incidents, right? And of course, I mean, you know, hey, we're all working remotely, and that's just a gold mine for, you know, bad actors out there who might want to penetrate your system. I mean, so on the one hand, it's great. Hey, let's go in the cloud. Hey, let's do Microsoft Dynamics. But on the other hand, if at the user level, we're not very secure, a lot of damage can be done if people have the right kind of information. So maybe just speak broadly to cybersecurity, because I think a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, they think, well, that's for the big companies. They've got a lot at risk. But, you know, what are your thoughts for the small and the medium-sized guys?
Yeah, it's really important. Like, you know, in our business, the most valuable thing we have is our client list. And so we need to make sure that our data, our system is secure. So we have, of course, we have our IT infrastructure ensures that people who have access into our system have to go through the right, you know, handshakes and things like that to get into the system. The stuff that Sistema Solutions is doing for us in particular, we have like outside access to Microsoft Dynamics using the mobile platform is secured on an SSL certificate, which they helped us to get in place. It really means that people that are supposed to have access to the system can at any time, but those, you know, bad actors, they don't have access. It's locked down. So you know, I don't know too much about the technical side of that, but I do know that our team, Sistema and Lloyd, who's our IT consultant on the infrastructure side, they've got that stuff well in hand, and we've been happy about that.
Well, that's so great, Jody. So maybe we'll throw it open to any questions to the audience, or a final question or two from Michelle. And I'm just going to take a quick peek here on at least what I can see on Facebook. If we've got any questions, you know, on the chat window as well. How about you, Rochelle? Any final questions for Jody? Jody, you've been a real pleasure to listen to and learn from today.
Thanks. I was hoping, you know, to learn something too. So that's good.
That's awesome. Well, every time that I talk to Jody, like regardless if it's there's stuff that we need to fix, or like we need to support and we need our assistance, like I learn a lot from him also. Like especially like doing those business intelligence report, like the Power BI. Yeah, that's really like, yeah, we made that together. Like yeah, we create the report together. It's not only like us helping them, but it's also them like identifying the key factors and the information that we need for that reports, right? Like,
yeah, it's a very creative and collaborative process, so it works well.
Well, you know, on that note, thank you so much, Jody. What a great pleasure this has been. And I'll just kind of just share the screen here for a moment. You know, folks, if you have been tuning in, I think the main point of us doing these webinars, this partnership between two companies, Sistema and AXIT, has been to continue to talk about the fact that we never want to let a good crisis go to waste. And, you know, if you're in the middle of COVID, if you're in the middle of a tough time right now, number one, hey, we feel it. But number two, you know, it might be a great opportunity to take advantage and look at your ERP, look at your CRM, look at your business intelligence, take a look at your cybersecurity. Maybe this is the time to improve your IT infrastructure, your managed services, your support. So, you know, Rochelle, of course, represents Sistema Solutions. So, Rochelle, why don't you just tell us for a moment about Sistema, and we'll throw your slide up there. Tell us about what you offer there, and then I'll talk for a moment about AXIT.
Yeah, so Sistema Solution, we focus on ERP solution, business intelligence, and if there's any other need for your custom development of the ERP system, we're also providing that services. So we also do like business analysis, solution development, project management, and of course like training your people, assessing what are the key processes that we can actually help to handle like the industry process. So we're very focused in that. So yeah, I think that's all for me. Like, yeah, and then if you have some question, you can email me directly. So here's my email, Rochelle@sistemasolution.ca.
It's fantastic. And of course, Sistema has a great website, sistemasolutions.ca. And then AXIT, you know, our primary focus is as an IT provider. So we essentially do cybersecurity, business continuity and disaster recovery and managed services. And, you know, I can't think of more important things for businesses. We've been able to work with them. I think one of the things that makes us unique in a sea of lots of managed service providers is this idea of CIO level consulting. We want to help you to think strategically about how IT infrastructure, cybersecurity, and business continuity can help you drive business outcomes, right? You know, a lot of people see IT as a cost center when really it's an opportunity to grow your business if you do it right. And so, yes, please do reach out. You can go to axitconsulting.com. That's axitconsulting.com. And please do check us out, because we're going to treat you like a real person who's got real needs, and we're going to make sure that you've got everything that you need. I guess, you know, in about a month, a little under a month now, this is going to be happening on August the 19th. We have another very special guest, and her name is Karen Sadler. I know Karen, and so does Rochelle. We'll chat about that on August 19th. But, you know, Karen is a business coach. She's an executive coach. And I think that that is important right now in this environment as well, because one of the things about coaching is you have an opportunity to look at things through a different lens, right? It's kind of like the player on the field, you know, sees it from one angle, but a business coach can see it from a different angle and hopefully help those players to improve their game. So please do join us on August 19th at 1:30. You know, of course, again, check out systemasolutions.ca or axitconsulting.com. And I'll give a final word over to Rochelle.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I just want to hear last word from Jody. Like, yeah, talk about like, yeah, MiniBulk, how we can contact you, and then yeah, how you can promote MiniBulk.
Oh, yeah. You know, we might be speaking to different audiences, but you know, if you, yeah. But essentially, if your operation is in the agriculture, chemicals, mining space, and we can help you move your products to market, because Canada is known as a high quality, fantastic exporting nation. That's what we do. That's our interest. We bring custom solutions that help you do that efficiently and safely, and drive value out of your supply chain operation. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can go to minibulk.com, or you can email us at info@minibulk.com.
That's so good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Jody. And thanks, Rochelle. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you back on August 19th.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.